My name is Kyle Black. When I was in 5th grade, a new kid transferred to my class. One day, a trio of bullies started picking on the new girl, Ava West. "Hey, newbie, say something." Ava, being petite and slim, was an easy target. Taking advantage of her quiet nature, they'd tease her daily, always managing to fluster her. Having watched this day in, day out, I finally mustered the courage and said, "Enough is enough. What's your deal, trying to be a hero?" Tom, the leader of the trio, quickly shifted his attention to me. "Yeah, what's Monkey Face here trying to prove? Monkey should just stick to making monkey sounds." The other two joined in, echoing Tom's taunts. "What's it to you if I look like a monkey? Haven't your fathers ever told you that men are supposed to protect their mothers and other girls? Ava just got here. We should be kind to her." Now that I am an adult, I would be a little embarrassed by this line, but at the time I thought it was the norm. Predictably, the three bullies didn't just stop. They teased me, too. But their words never bothered me, because I deeply admired my father. My father was a big, strong man, but in front of me, he would stroke my head while squinting his eyes as if they were about to melt away. He worked in construction. As a kid, I often visited his work sites with my mom, bringing him lunch. I've seen him lifting heavy things with such ease multiple times. I idolized my strong yet gentle father and often said, "I want to be a strong man like Dad," to which he'd reply, "Being strong isn't just about muscles, it's about protecting those weaker than you." His words came naturally to me in my confrontation with the bullies. Of course, they didn't stop, continuing to taunt Ava. I couldn't stand seeing Ava, always on the brink of tears, so I started accompanying her to and from school. She was a woman of few words, often nodding or shaking her head in response. She always looked down and pressed her lips tightly together, making it hard for her to fit in with the more outgoing girls. But Ava was genuine, and I enjoyed her company. We became closer over that year and the next, but in middle school, we went to different schools. Ava moved to the neighboring state due to her father's job. "I'll write you letters," she promised. How happy I was when Ava told me that. And true to her word, we exchanged letters. Looking back, it was quite a youthful period. Exchanging letters with a girl during the height of adolescence. To be honest, Ava was the only girl I was ever close to. One day, 13 years after graduation, I received a notice for a reunion under the title, "Let's have a reunion now that we are about twice our age since graduation." The quirky theme made me chuckle, and I decided to attend. At the venue, I was thrilled to see familiar faces. As I chatted with old friends, I noticed a group in flashy suits. Looking a little further away, I see a group of people wearing fancy suits. It was the trio of bullies. The most eye-catching of them was Tom. As I laughed at his flirtatious appearance, Tom hasn't changed either. Feeling nostalgic inside, I locked eyes with Tom. "Hey, you're Kyle, right? You haven't changed a bit." Tom, with his buddies, approached me, laughing. I can easily tell it's Kyle, with his red face and monkey. The way he is in a groove hasn't changed since elementary school. The banner went on with them reminiscing about my monkey face. While it was a fun reunion with the trio, it seems I made a mistake in making eye contact at that moment. That trio seemed to be bragging to everyone about which universities they had attended. Now, I wasn't embarrassed or anything. I just thought that amidst their discussions of which university was better or worse, I'd definitely be the odd one out. "So, Kyle, which university did you go to?" I had tried to stay out of it, but I knew this question was coming. I honestly replied that I started working right after high school. "What? There are guys these days who don't go to college?" Tom exclaimed in surprise and announced to everyone, "This guy didn't go to college." I'd like to believe he was just being his old playful self. I heard some chuckles. From what I gathered, most of the group had attended college. Tom himself had graduated from a fairly well-known university. Man, with that face and no college degree, life must be tough. Tom joked. Hey, my face has nothing to do with it, I quickly retorted. But Tom continued, looking somewhat concerned. Without a degree, you probably can't find a good job, and your pay must be low. I replied honestly, it's not like that, really. Though it might have come off as defensive. Some folks expressed sympathy, others teased. I wasn't struggling by any means. Anyway, I just said thank you to end the conversation. As the reunion ended, we headed outside. Hey everyone, how about some karaoke for the after party? Tom enthusiastically called out. A few wanted to head home, and the ladies decided to have their own after party. In the end, only the guys were left. Tom is disappointed that the girls didn't stay, but then he says he will take them to a nearby bar that Tom frequents. As I check my watch, deciding whether to join or not, Tom encouraged, "Come on, Kyle, join us." I thought, why not? It's not often I get to catch up with these guys. With a note that I might head home early, I followed the group to the bar. Tom's favorite bar had an international vibe, with waitress and customers from various countries. As we walked in, everyone was in awe, exclaiming, "Wow, this place is cool." After Tom conversed with the waitress, he was led to a large table in the back of the bar. Tom had pre-booked a large table in the back. Everyone was excited to see a bar that they had never been to before. The rumor that Tom had a thing for foreign women. That is why he often comes to this bar. This is Michelle. Tom introduced the waitress who came to our table. Oh my, Tom, how many girls do you say mine about? Michelle's fluent retort made everyone laugh. The bar was lively, with music playing. We could chat with the waitress, mingle with other customers, or just enjoy ourselves as a group. Everyone seemed to be having a blast. After a while, a stunning blonde woman entered the bar. With long blonde hair, revealing clothes, and a beautifully styled woman, Tom couldn't help but let out an "oh." Following Tom's gaze, we all turned to look. She looked around, and when our eyes met, she gave a slight wave and a smile. I immediately stood up, intending to leave, and said, "Well then." "Oh damn," she waved at me. Tom interrupted, clearly excited. Everyone around me cheered. "Well, then." Looking at me, Tom said, "Perfect timing. Kyle, why don't you go and pick her up?" I was taken aback. "What?" Tom looks thrilled. With a gleeful expression, Tom suggested, "Let's play a game. Let's see if Kyle can hit on her speaking French." Everyone joined in the excitement. It all happened so fast, and I was completely caught off guard, but everyone seemed to be having fun, so I went along with it. The others started adding rules, like whoever thought I'd fail would cover my drinks. As they discussed, they doubted my looks and French skills. "That's not even a game." Laughter erupted, but they said it seemed fun, so I should go for it. "Let's see how far your high school French can take you. Go." Before I knew it, a game involving me had begun. I got caught up in the hype and said, "No way," as I approached the blonde beauty at the counter. "Excuse me, can I talk to you for a second? Everyone's been telling me to go pick on you." When I said that, she said, "What? What do you mean?" Then she was so surprised that she started to laugh. She glanced at everyone seated and then looked at me with a mischievous smile. "Oh, I see what's going on." "Sure." As I walked with her to everyone's table, they all said, "No way." They rolled my eyes and were amazed that I could communicate in French. "Good evening. You called me over." She asks everyone in French, but they must have been stunned by her breathtaking beauty. All anyone could say was, "Well." But only Tom seemed delighted, saying, "She looks even cuter up close." "Thanks, Kyle." "Oh, come here, baby." Seems like that's Tom's usual pickup line, as he spread his arms wide, beckoning her over. She laughed out loud. As she took her time getting to him, Tom reached out to grab her hand. "Why would I come to you? Don't get the wrong idea." When she said this, everyone looked at her with an "what" look and became quiet. That's because the words she uttered were in fluent English. "You're Tom, right? That's George next to you, and Tyler over there." I recognized all three of you right away. She mentioned only those three names in the room, but given her fluent English and her ability to name them, everyone seemed to be in shock. Seeing everyone's reaction, she and I locked eyes and burst into laughter. "Sorry, everyone, but don't you remember? It's Ava West." When I said that, everyone was silent for a moment, then exclaimed in unison, "No way. Are you that Ava?" Amid the surprise, Ava smirked. "No, darling. It's Ava Black now." Hearing that, everyone blinked in astonishment, falling silent again for a few moments. Then, a collective "what" echoed throughout the room, drawing the attention of other customers. Ava playfully wrapped her arm around mine, smiling brightly. Actually, Ava couldn't make it to the reunion because of work, but she finished up and came to pick me up. I tried explaining to everyone, but they seemed lost. Ava must have been tired from work, but when I briefly emailed her about attending an after-party, she replied, "I'll pick you up." The truth is, I still have some work to do after I get home. On Saturday nights, it's hard to hail a cab, so I took advantage of Ava's kindness. Everyone kept saying, "I didn't recognize Ava. She's become so beautiful." Indeed, Ava in elementary school was short and petite, and always looked down, very timid. I was plain back then, but the trio hasn't changed much. I recognized you guys instantly. Besides, I remember what yielded to me. When Ava said that, Tom and his friends looked awkward. Ava had just returned from France at the time. Her father was American, and her mother was French. Due to her father's job, she had lived in France for a long time and barely knew basic English. She had been mocked for her intonation, which made her even more reluctant to speak. I was sad every day back then. When Ava told the three of them this, they sincerely apologized, saying, "We're sorry." But thanks to you guys, I was so frustrated not knowing English that I studied a lot. Now, as you can see, I'm fluent. You apologized, so I forgive you. When Ava smiled and said that, Tom and everyone else broke into smiles too. Hold on a second, did someone just say Ava Black? Does that mean? Tom suddenly became serious, looking at everyone's faces. "The two of you are married." "No way, that's obviously a joke." "Come on, it's obvious you two are Beauty and the Beast." Everyone was saying they couldn't believe it, but at the mention of Beast, there was a burst of laughter. Then, Ava casually remarked, "What? I think my darling is the most handsome man in the world." Everyone was holding their stomachs and laughing, saying, "What are you talking about? And there must be some mistake. Come on, there are popular guys who look like monkeys. Look at some celebrities, actors, and such." When I threw in that comment, everyone started laughing even harder, gasping for breath. Give me a break. Even if I look like a monkey, it's not the same thing. I meant it seriously, but it seemed to hit everyone's funny bone. What everyone was curious about next was how Ava and I got to the point of marriage. Ava had moved out of state when she started middle school. Everyone only remembered her up until our elementary school graduation, so it wasn't strange for them to think that was when Ava and I last had contact. When she moved, she told me, "I'll write you letters," and that's how our correspondence started. I became interested in French because of Ava, and she wanted to learn English, so our letters were written in both French and English every time. We would look up words for each other, and, though the exchanges were awkward, learning new words was fun. We shared our middle school lives in our letters. Once we hit high school, we had a bit more freedom. About once a month, I went to hang out with Ava. Maybe because we couldn't meet during middle school. When I saw Ava for the first time in high school, my heart raced. She had grown taller, and her hair, which was shoulder length at elementary school graduation, had grown to her waist. She had become more ladylike. Turned out, we both had feelings for each other at that time. But I had no idea about it back then and kept those feelings to myself. By that time, I had a pretty rugged face, almost monkey-like. My face was so red that I even thought maybe in my past life, I was some kind of monkey. I had no confidence in my looks, especially since Ava was becoming more and more beautiful. With her blonde hair, clear blue eyes, and fair skin, I thought she was way out of my league. So, when I found out Ava liked me, I was overjoyed but also very surprised. As for Ava, she was waiting for me to confess my feelings. But whenever we met, we just hung out as friends. Every time after hanging out, she went home feeling upset, I later learned. Then, during the summer of our sophomore year in high school, she suddenly got mad while we were hanging out, saying, "I'm not meeting with you anymore." Hanging out as usual, suddenly Ava got mad. "Why? What's wrong?" I only panicked. Then, puffing up her cheeks, Ava said, "Well then, tell me you love me right now." It was at that moment I realized Ava and I had mutual feelings. To my surprise, Ava looked even more shocked. "How did you not notice? You love me too, don't you, Kyle?" With her words, I could only nod, and Ava gave a beaming smile. Just moments ago she was pouting, and now she has this killer smile. I was caught off guard by the change and couldn't help but smile. "Then say it properly. Say you love Ava right now." Of course, I wanted to say it right then and there. But we were at a bustling town square. No way could I say it without being super embarrassed. "Come on, don't keep me waiting. Say it now. Really." Here of all places. I was embarrassed and said, "I'll tell you later," but I could tell by the look on Alice's face. She wouldn't let me go home unless I said it. I must have been beet red. "I love you, Ava." It was my first ever confession of love. I was thrilled when Ava became my girlfriend, but I still lacked confidence in myself. One day, I asked her, "Aren't you embarrassed to be with someone like me?" Ava widened her eyes and exclaimed, "Why would you think that? You look so ruggedly handsome. Plus, you have a strong and kind heart. Remember when I just transferred schools and you helped me out? Since that moment, Kyle, in my eyes, you've been the coolest guy ever." Ava looked straight at me and reassured me like that. From then on, I gained confidence in myself. Our relationship continued as a couple, and after high school graduation, Ava went off to college while I joined my family's construction company, where my father was the CEO. I considered going to college, but having acquired specialized training and certifications in high school, I was eager to start working right away. And so, I waited for Ava's college graduation to propose. We happily became husband and wife. I briefly shared our love story with everyone. "You see, my darling is the best husband in the world." At Ava's sincere gushing, everyone started to blush and said, "Oh, stop it. Kyle, I should have been better. I admit my mistakes." Tom scratched his head, smiling slightly. If I hadn't teased her and been kinder, maybe Ava would have been my wife. No way. I love someone wild and gentle like my darling. Tom seemed a bit regretful hearing that. However, when he said he'd drink too much if he heard any more of this lovey-dovey talk, everyone laughed and told him to head home early. "Let's toast to the couple's happiness." "Yeah, Kyle, drinks are on us tonight." In the end, they told me, "Kyle, make sure you keep her happy," and we parted ways with smiles all around. It's been 2 years since that reunion. I've been working hard every day, preparing to take over the family business for my father. Ava has fulfilled her dream and opened a nail salon. She looks happy every day. We both lead busy lives, but fulfilling. Right now, It's just the two of us, but we hope to have kids someday. Our current dream is to live happily in the house I built. We're taking it one step at a time, working together to make our dreams come true. You'll do as I say. She said that to me as she was about to make a request. Having unintentionally seen something of hers, I was overwhelmed by guilt, or something similar. I had no choice but to listen to her. How did this happen? Well, my name is Tyler. Currently, I run a quiet coffee shop on the first floor of a building. When I say coffee shop, I'm not talking about the trendy ones serving flashy-looking drinks, but rather the ones that specialize in coffee, essentially, old-fashioned coffee houses. I've always loved coffee. Before I realized it, I found myself running my own place. I researched coffee beans and brewing techniques, worked hard to make the best coffee. After much dedication, I finally had my own shop. Of course, every coffee I served is my pride and joy. For those who aren't fans of bitter tastes, I also have a variety of items like café au laits, suitable for beginners. I've created light meals that go well with coffee. It's truly a place made for coffee lovers. Now, being a huge coffee enthusiast, I drink multiple cups a day, so much so that my doctor advised me to cut back. I have to stay healthy to keep the shop going, after all. It's crucial to manage stress and have some outlets, but dang, haha, the coffee here is as bad as ever, haha. That's how I'm battling stress right now. It's currently 9:30 in the morning. I set the shop's opening time at 10 a.m., so it's technically before opening, but there's a man at the counter, enjoying a sandwich and coffee while tossing out insults. His name is Kevin. He's an incredibly rude fellow, but I can't say anything against him. Why, you ask? Well, let me tell you. Kevin owns the building where my shop is located. If I upset him, there's a chance I might get kicked out. I've seen tenants being evicted before, and I've only had this shop for about a year. Moreover, this guy always comes before opening hours. I don't have to worry about weird rumors because of that, but it's still unpleasant. If you think it doesn't taste good, you don't have to come, Kevin. You must be a busy man. If I can get a free meal, why not? Even if it's bad to my gourmet taste, it's probably just right for the average Joe. Haha. In exchange for a discounted rent, I occasionally serve him breakfast. I eagerly accepted that deal, but if I could go back, I'd punch my past self. Sure, Kevin is an investor in real estate and other ventures. That means he has a refined palate, but it is not certain whether his sense of taste is truly superior. Anyway, being criticized like this doesn't feel good, but I have to endure for now. After finishing the sandwich and coffee I made, Kevin remarked, "Today's was a bit better, haha, keep it up," and left with some mysterious advice. He stayed for 20 minutes. He leaves right around opening time, so it doesn't interfere with my business. But man, it's exhausting. But that's not the customer's concern. I have to do my best for those who come to enjoy my coffee. A few hours later, around 2 p.m. when the rush started to calm down, the chime of the doorbell rang, signaling a new customer's entrance. "Welcome, just one of you." "Ah, yes, just me." The person who entered was a woman with glasses. Her round face complemented her short bob, and she wore a lacy skirt. She looked quite young. Moreover, she stared intently at me, making me tilt my head in confusion. I had shown her to a seat, but she didn't move. Maybe there's something on my face. "Excuse me, ma'am, is there something? Sorry for coming out of nowhere. Are you Tyler from North Elementary and Northridge Middle School?" She stared at me intensely as she said that. Hearing her words, my eyes widened. Because she had correctly named the schools I went to, At the very least, this woman in front of me seemed to know me. I gave a small nod. Yes, that's me, but I knew it. It's me, Emily. Don't you remember? What, Emily? The shop was empty at the moment, and I couldn't help but raise my voice. Emily, unforgettable. She's my childhood friend. I can't recall when we first met. We lived close by, attended the same preschool, and played a lot at the same park. Emily's parents ran a business, so she was like a little heiress, while I came from an average household. But such differences didn't matter in our childhood, and Emily and I shared countless adventures. From racing to hide and seek, to seeing who could make the biggest mud pie. We spent so much time together that even in elementary school, we were inseparable. In fact, Emily was so shy that she'd say she was scared to go to school if I wasn't with her. Her concerned parents even considered transferring her, but she was adamant. I don't want to be separated from Tyler. She was quite stubborn, to say the least. So, we went to and from school together, and I often hung out at her house. Our parents became close too, and whenever my folks were late from work, Emily's parents would let me stay over. Their house was so grand, it was every kid's dream. But our close bond broke in middle school. Why? Because I heard Emily got a boyfriend. She always had a youthful, round face which made her popular among the boys in middle school. So when I heard she got a boyfriend, honestly, I was jealous. I regretted not confessing my feelings to her sooner and realized for the first time that I had fallen for Emily. Moreover, I witnessed Emily entering the science prep room with an older boy from a year above. Curious, I sneaked a peek and saw Emily and him hugging each other. In an empty classroom, just the two of them sneaking around. Well, the nature of their relationship was pretty clear. In that moment, I realized that although I had feelings for Emily, it was too late. I distanced myself from her. Can't blame me, right? The senior she was with was good-looking, and I felt I couldn't be by Emily's side. At the very least, I didn't want to stand in the way of her happiness. And so, our connection was broken. Emily reached out a few times after starting high school, but I never felt like responding. Eventually, her messages stopped coming. But now, after all this time, why is Emily standing right in front of me? We hadn't met since becoming adults, so I didn't recognize her immediately. But now, even with makeup, she's unmistakably Emily. I'm so glad. You remember me. How could I forget? But why are you here? I saw your cafe in a magazine, so I just had to come. Come to think of it, my cafe had been featured in magazines a few times. Apparently, Emily saw one of those and decided to drop by. Thanks for coming. Feel free to relax and stay a while. Tyler, do you have time later? Huh? There's something I really need to ask. I know it's presumptuous to suddenly show up like this, but you're the only one I can ask. Emily looked desperate and anxious. It seems there's a significant matter at hand. Seeing her distressed, I took a quick glance at the clock. Okay, I understand. My cafe closes at 6 p.m. Can you come by afterward? I'll treat you to a coffee, considering you've come all this way. Thank you. I felt bad leaving Emily in her current state, but I couldn't leave the shop during business hours. We decided to meet up later, and Emily left for the time being. By the way, my cafe operates from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I don't offer a breakfast menu because I want customers to savor their coffee. With that thought, I decided to prepare a coffee for Emily and watched her leave. After 6 p.m., when the shop had closed, Emily returned. With no other customers around, she seemed a bit more relaxed. I offered her a low-caffeine latte and took a seat opposite her. It reminded me of the times we used to hang out at diners, sipping on soft drinks and chatting away. But now, there wasn't time for nostalgic conversations. She looked too troubled. So, what did you want to ask? I know it's a strange request, but please, will you pretend to be my boyfriend? What? Emily nearly bowed to the ground as she begged me. I, on the other hand, was surprised by the unexpected request. Why on earth would she ask such a thing? Curious, I listened to her story. Given that Emily was a CEO's daughter, her father had been pressuring her to get married and even set her up for an arranged date. The other party was an acquaintance of her father's, and for Emily, who isn't particularly social, it was a complete hassle. So, on the spot, she told them, I already have a boyfriend, to refuse the arrangement. However, he said he fell for me at first sight from my photo and wouldn't take no for an answer. He said I could bring my boyfriend, and he'd be willing to talk. I'm kind of in a bind now since I said I had a boyfriend. Sounds like quite the assertive guy. Please, just this once, Emily pleaded, bowing her head again. Sure, I've known Emily since we were kids, and if asked about our past, I could easily talk about it. It might even be easy to play along. An image of Emily's dad flashed in my mind, but seeing Emily right in front of me, desperate, I posed a question. Don't you have a boyfriend now? I remember you had one in middle school, or at least some guy friends. What? No, I don't. I've never even had a boyfriend. What? Emily looked shocked, but I was even more surprised. I was sure Emily had a boyfriend in middle school. But when I mentioned that, did I ever say I had a boyfriend? But, what about you and that senior in the science prep room? Oh, that, Emily was surprised that she was being watched, but the person she was meeting with at that time was her friend's boyfriend, and they were discussing a friend's gift. And when she almost tripped, the senior caught her. That's what I had witnessed. So that's why you suddenly became distant in middle school. Well, I thought it would be problematic if there was a misunderstanding. Right. I had never heard directly from Emily about having a boyfriend. Just got that notion from mutual friends and the situation I had misunderstood. Back then, I was so shocked, I didn't even try to clarify. What's that? I was so hurt at the time. Why didn't you ask me? I didn't have the courage to. Sorry. I genuinely apologized. From Emily's perspective, I had suddenly become distant and didn't even reach out. It's only natural for her to feel hurt. Pouting, Emily said, if you feel guilty, then do as I say. With that, I agreed to her proposal. Being Emily's pretend boyfriend, even temporarily, isn't so bad, right? That's what I thought, but then. Why is Tyler here? Kevin. We were set for a formal date in a rather fancy restaurant, but to my surprise, the other party was none other than Kevin. Oh boy, this is looking pretty bad. There's even a chance I might get kicked out of the place. But by agreeing to act as Emily's boyfriend, I had already risked offending Kevin. So, it was already too late to back out. I decided to focus on protecting Emily. Though I had that in mind, the meeting turned out to be a disaster. Kevin went on and on about how bad my taste was. This guy has no taste buds whatsoever. He always serves turbo coffee. He's barely scraping by thanks to some online reviews, but he's just a pool cafe owner kept afloat by a few loyal customers. He's not good enough for you, Emily. I don't know what he told you, but you shouldn't be with this loser. I was amazed at how condescending he could be. For the most part, I just let it slide. But Emily's reaction caused an even bigger scene. Enough. Don't mock Tyler. You probably don't know much about coffee, do you? I'm a bit of a coffee enthusiast, making it from fresh beans every day. His coffee might sell okay, but it's not that great. He doesn't even realize how bad it is. Just because I'm not a coffee expert doesn't mean I don't know Tyler's skill. Maybe it's you with no taste buds. Emily, calm down. Emily was fuming, while Kevin smirked confidently. There's no way I have poor taste, right? This is supposed to be a date, right? Not a fight. I was relieved I was there with Emily, but I also felt guilty for causing all this. However, Emily ended the argument with one sentence. "You might have said Tyler's coffee is bad, but how could a barista who won first place in the World Coffee Championships make bad coffee?" Huh? The room went silent. I was worried when she brought that up, but Kevin looked utterly stunned. Seeing this, Emily went on the offensive. "Tyler's pretty well known in the industry. Even if you think you have a refined palate, calling Tyler's coffee bad doesn't make sense. Yes, personal preference plays a role, but your comments about Tyler lack any real basis. But then why doesn't he advertise that? There was nothing about that in his cafe." Kevin glared at me, to which I sighed and replied, "If I flaunted that, it'd bias people's opinions of my coffee, so I was trying not to mention it." Seriously, I had reluctantly featured my cafe in a magazine. Everyone would naturally think that coffee made by a champion barista would be amazing. I just wanted people to enjoy my coffee without any preconceptions. Saying this, I pulled out a folded magazine clipping from my wallet and showed it to him. Honestly, I was genuinely happy to be featured in the magazine, and I kept the clipping in my wallet as a sort of good luck charm. Seeing this and realizing that the story was true, Kevin began to wince and shake. Despite all his complaints, he still came to drink my coffee. He probably recognized its quality. His ego probably couldn't handle praising coffee he thought was made by a regular Joe like me. That's why he'd been belittling me so much. But I knew that there were plenty of people who truly appreciated my work, so I could brush off Kevin's ranting. In the end, Kevin stormed off saying, "You'll regret this," and the date was called off. We decided to head home. "I'm sorry. Do you think you will get kicked out of the building?" "It's okay. Even if we do, they'll give us some time. If it comes to that, I'll just try my luck somewhere new." Saying this, I escorted Emily back to her family's home. While I was concerned about the cafe, I felt good about standing up for Emily. But now that this was over, would Emily and I drift apart again? The mere thought filled me with a deep sense of loneliness. It felt a lot like when I heard Emily had gotten a boyfriend. Did I want to be away from Emily again? No, definitely not, especially after rekindling our bond. This time, I want to be right by her side. "Hey, Emily, what's up?" I stopped walking, and she did too. Looking straight into her eyes, I declared, "I've always loved you, Emily. I want to be your real boyfriend." Though my heart was racing, Emily, tears in her eyes, whispered, "I've waited so long to hear that," and she embraced me. Despite my romantic confession, our surroundings shifted dramatically after that. First, after confessing, I immediately headed over to Emily's parents' home to greet them after a long time and to get down on one knee, saying we're officially dating now, so please don't bring up any arranged marriage talks. Her parents, especially her father, were pretty furious that the date had been disrupted. When the main culprit turned out to be me, he didn't seem to change his opinion. Well, he's a CEO after all. He probably wanted his daughter to marry someone of appropriate status or wealthy. However, Emily secretly recorded the whole encounter with Kevin during the matchmaking and played it back, saying, "Dad, you really can't judge a person." Hearing Kevin's rude remarks, Emily's mother chimed in, "If Emily has to marry someone like that, I'd rather she be with Tyler." With that, we gained an ally. In the end, her father gave in, and we were allowed to date. As for the cafe I was worried about, I didn't get kicked out. Actually, Kevin was no longer the owner. Emily's father, as a way to make amends, bought several buildings owned by Kevin. Turns out, Kevin had a habit of berating other tenants in the building, just like he did with me. He got sued by a bunch of them. The settlements put a significant dent in his finances. The real estate world has its interconnections, so Kevin's been feeling pretty cornered. Emily's father was furious, saying he dare hurl those nasty words at my daughter. It seems he took various steps to set things right. After a few months, I stopped hearing about Kevin entirely. I'm not sure what's become of him. As for us, Emily started helping out at my cafe, so we're together almost all the time. Though we've only been dating a few months, it feels like we've known each other forever. We've even talked about getting married on our first anniversary. Why not marry right now? We want to enjoy our relationship a bit longer, that's all. For now, I just want to be la vie de vie with Emily. In a few years, though, we'd be married, blessed with children, and the cafe would be booming. But that's a story for another time.